Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you from the WELT studios in Fort Wayne, recording a day early.
And always a dollar short.
Yeah, a dollar short, yes. Hello, Justin.
Hello, Mr. Hatch. How are you?
Good. Welcome back to the studio.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I was late. It's
Not
always
even
me.
Fashionably late.
No, it was just straight up late. It's always me. Caleb always comes every week ready to go. I'm either
not
at
on
home.
time, though. I was actually on time today.
Yeah, like the one time you're on time. I'm way late, but Caleb is the driving force behind this show. He's always been. I'm just the along for the ride, and half the time I can't even be in the right place at the right time. But here we are.
Here we are.
Talking IndyCar and the 2026 season schedule.
Yes, and we have a lot to dive into. Obviously, the schedule is set. Some highlights. Nashville will be the race after the World Cup, moving to now, did some math. Nashville is not actually a 400-mile race because how the laps are.
Okay.
So they're doing, 300 laps?
At a 1.25 mile.
Technically, it's 399 miles, from what I understand.
Well, they're rounding up, apparently.
Yes.
It just, you can't call it the Indy 399, right? You got to just round
because
up.
It's a 1.330 mile track, so it'll be 399.9 repeat. Anyway, Nashville will be right after the World Cup. Milwaukee Mile is a doubleheader again. Laguna Seca moved to the finale. Obviously, we knew Arlington would be on there. Markham would be on there, but those are other new additions. We knew no Mexico City as of Saturday morning, and we thought maybe there was a chance Iowa would be on there. Washington, D.C. always felt like a long shot to us, but those are some of the highlights. So we'll break it down. I actually have notes.
Wow.
Because I want to start with the good, and then we'll get to the bad.
Okay.
Let's start with the good. And you made this great point with the Arlington Street Race. You're returning to the Dallas-Fort Worth market, which is obviously big for IndyCar. But you made the point and posted on social media, look, if this race was announced on the schedule, we'd be over the moon if we just found out about it or recently found out about it. But because we've known about it for, over a year, it's just kind of like, cool, yeah, we know it's going to be on the schedule. Tickets are on sale. But this is a big thing. I mean, you're partnering with the Rangers and the Dallas Cowboys to pull this off, and obviously the city of Arlington. Like, this is a big event, and I think it's understated because we've been aware of it for so long.
Last October is when it was announced. I looked it up yesterday in anticipation of talking about it, and for that tweet as well. We've very much taken it for granted, as you've said, and that's unfair to Arlington, and it's unfair to IndyCar. It's the fact that it was announced so early that we've just taken it for granted for 11 months, particularly when other events were teased, Mexico and DC in particular. And so we do have to give IndyCar credit, because as they look for more and more quote-unquote events and not just races, Arlington race, it fits that bill, or at least that's the anticipation, that's the hope, right? So we talk about positives, and adding a race of that magnitude in, what is it, the fourth biggest metropolitan area in the country? I mean, you go, L.A., New York, Chicago.
And then, after that, is it
Dallas,
Houston?
Well,
is it
Houston.
DFW? Is it San Francisco?
Yeah,
but yes, it's top
in the
five.
combo. Yeah, for sure. So to have something of that magnitude, when the complaint for several years is, well, you're not even in Texas, right? You went away from COTA. You can't get TMS to agree to anything, Texas Motor Speedway. So it's a big victory for IndyCar, and something we shouldn't gloss over because we've known about it for so long.
All right, next on my list of good, Phoenix, which, again, we knew was going to be on the schedule. 1-year deal as of now, but you're going to be on the same track and an oval track, not a road course, but the same track as NASCAR, a doubleheader weekend. You also have an oval race before the 500, which I think a lot of people wanted to see. And, we'll get into logistics. Will we see a NASCAR driver? I don't know. I doubt it. But either way, this is good that they were able to pull it off. And from what we understand, It sounds like it will be a Saturday evening race as far as evening on the East Coast. It'll be mid-afternoon out there in Phoenix. So you're looking at a decent TV time, whether it's 5 Eastern, 6 Eastern, less away from the middle of the afternoon and more closer to prime time. Not quite prime time. Maybe it could finish near prime time, but either way is a lot better than the floated idea of a local Saturday morning race, lunchtime East Coast race that we had originally heard.
And is the anticipation that the Xfinity race would be after the IndyCar race? Which would be interesting in terms of, you always hear about different rubber being laid down, right? But could we potentially see, I don't think we see any crossover with Cup and IndyCar drivers. Could we see an IndyCar driver do Xfinity? Do the
I could see that.
double? Could you see Joseph Newgarden potentially?
Possibly.
Who's always kind of discussed, wanting to do a stock car. So, no, we never thought it was possible to go back to Phoenix after going back originally because of the lack of crowd.
I was there, and there was a lack of crowd
very
the first
much
year back.
But we always talk about the lack of crowd and not the racing. It wasn't the best racing, but it was oval racing. Mm-hmm. And that was back when IndyCar had a lot of problems figuring out the oval package, not just at Phoenix. So, excuse me, the hope is that with IndyCar having seemingly figured out the oval configuration outside of Indianapolis and going back to Phoenix, that can be a good show. And could this be the first step in multiple opportunities a season? Probably wouldn't be above 2, but I could see 2, where IndyCar partners with NASCAR at an oval. Could they partner up with NASCAR at Watkins Glen at some point? Now, that problem is then with the 2026 schedule, and who knows how long it'll be, is Watkins Glen's in May now for NASCAR, so that's kind of an issue, but hopefully everything goes well. Fox likes it. I know NASCAR won't be happy. We've talked about that before, about faster cars on track than what Cup is going to put on. And so, but then they have a problem of Xfinity sometimes being faster than the Cup cars. So overall, I think it's a great thing for Phoenix. You mentioned oval before Indy, and also the March schedule in general. As recently as last year, having St. Pete and then such a drought. Now you go 4 races in March. You go 4 races in 5 weeks, 5 weekends in March, which is a tremendous start to the season.
Yeah, that actually is one of my other points with Phoenix. And look, they're trying it out, right? And to get a weekend with NASCAR, this is clearly Fox Sports pushing it. That's why we're also seeing the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at St. Pete. Look, these are different things. They can maybe help cross-promote. And when your TV partner is now also a major partner, not just for television, but partner in general in terms of investment, this is some stuff. I like that they're trying it. Yeah, it's a 1-year deal. Will it work? I don't know, but at least we're getting to see it, because I think we all dreamed that IndyCar would be willing to share a track with the NASCAR on an oval weekend, knowing that, yes, they would be second or even third billing, but try it and see how it goes, and they're trying it. And then you talked about it, the strong start to the season, 4 races in 5 weeks. I mean, this is a massive improvement to what we saw for 2025, where it was so spaced out. There was no momentum. You had St. Pete, and then you're off, and it's like, okay, you disappear. Yeah, it wasn't a great race, but he had a really good TV rating thanks to all the Super Bowl advertising and new excitement with the new TV partner, and then you're just completely off the radar. Well, that's not going to be a problem. And with that, and this kind of goes into my next point, they're avoiding the conflicts. We always talk, about the IndyCar needs to position themselves the best they can. Yes, there's always something going on, but they're avoiding the Masters, which that was on Long Beach this year, and Long Beach got a terrible rating. Brickyard 400 weekend, there's usually an IndyCar race, not this year. The Final Four is in Indianapolis. There's no IndyCar race that weekend to take people away.
Kind of want to avoid that.
Yeah.
Market.
Yes, if they race on Sunday, it's okay, but I feel like this helps. I mean, maybe you can have IndyCar drivers at the Final Four, right? Drivers can also do, right? Drivers can also do the Daytona 24, Sebring 12-hour, and the 24 hours in Le Mans. No conflicts.
which is nice. I don't make it as much of a priority as others do for that stuff. We talked about that before. Look, if you're an IndyCar driver, it's IndyCar first and foremost. Kind of circling back though too, when you start looking at Fox's races for NASCAR and potential other opportunities going ahead. So in terms of the tracks that are on Fox's schedule that maybe fit IndyCar, you have Atlanta, you have COTA, you have Kansas, you have Texas, you have Watkins Glen, you have Dover. I think potentially could we see another one added next year? Maybe just Phoenix is a one and done. Maybe next year you go to Kansas as your one doubleheader weekend.
Yeah, like maybe it rotates tracks.
Right. Exactly. Maybe next year it's somehow Texas, right? Maybe it's Atlanta. I don't know. Maybe it's COTA. So I don't know. Maybe if it doesn't grow more than one, maybe it could be on a rotational basis type thing, which could be exciting, I feel. So, that's a big thing. And also, as you mentioned, avoiding, and that's part of the reason why you look at April being so lonely with Long Beach, is you avoid the Masters. You have Easter weekend, which is always tough, right? And then
IMS Open Test is obviously going to be
the last weekend, right? Or the weekend before.
It'll be probably like a Wednesday, Thursday, or Thursday, Friday. But yes, like toward the end of April.
Correct. And it's not the weekend before the road course, right?
Correct. It would be
2 weeks
because
before.
it would have to be at least 2 weeks before, because the weekend before is always like the mini marathon, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you're looking at the weekend of the the week after Long Beach, effectively.
Yes. Yeah. So it's not like yes, it looks like you're completely off the radar, but having the IMS Open Test and assuming it is streamed, you'll at least have some buzz out of that.
Yeah, and the way the calendar lies in 2026, sometimes technically Barber is April 1 or April 2nd. It's just the way the calendar works. Is instead it's at the end of March. But
in moving Barber forward, I think yes, it's the earliest it's ever been. But you pointed out, I mean, when they first started this race, it was the first handful of days of April. So this is yes, it will be cooler, but this is back in line with kind of it's more starting out traditional dates. So I'm not as concerned for that in terms of the weather and whatnot, but. Yeah, I think the other positive I want to get to, which is kind of double-sided because there's a negative out of it as well, but we'll stick with the positives here. Nashville following the World Cup, expanded race, 300 laps instead of 250. The track that, in my opinion, put on the best show this season, like overall, it didn't have the best finish, but it had the best show overall, is going to be highlighted, and it's going to be a Sunday night, primetime-ish race. I mean... There's some, again, negatives. We'll talk about that. But I think for a TV viewing perspective, I mean, this is going to get a monster number. Like, this is going to get a number that we can't believe.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I mean, could it get 2 million or more? Could it get 4 million? Who knows? Either way, you're looking at an opportunity to really showcase IndyCar with a track that put on some of the best racing you saw in 2025. Really good racing for 2024 as well. So that's a positive as well. Again, we'll get to the flip side of that in a bit. And then a bonus, of course, all races on Big Fox, which, again, we knew that was how this would work, but it's great to see the confirmation.
It is. And with that, too, we can't take for granted, similar to how we were with Arlington, we can't take for granted the fact that IndyCar and Fox had to be very, very much aware of World Cup, right? You have this massive in the middle of what is usually the heavy part of IndyCar's season, June and July, with the World Cup on Fox. So it's not as easy as plugging and playing with your races in what, May through July is the majority of IndyCar's schedule. It wasn't as easy to do that. They had to get, really, I'm drawing a blank on the word. They had to get really creative. That's what the word is. Man, I'm late. I can't come up with words. They had to be really creative with what they did with the schedule because of that commitment to World Cup, also the commitment with IndyCar being on Fox. You didn't want to be like, for this year we're going to move a couple to FS1 just because, and you don't want to do that.
My understanding is there are group stage matches on July 5th, which is Mid-Ohio, and then June 21st, which is Road America. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe IndyCar leads into a group stage match on Fox for the World Cup. But either way, they found a way to have 2 races in July, which I think is better than what we got with NBC in the Olympics.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I guess I'm happy about that. Overall, any other positive takeaways you have on the schedule?
Overall, it's fine. I mean, we're going to get into it when you have so many rumors out there that you get excited about. Mm-hmm. It's always disappointing when they don't come through. But IndyCar taking a step forward with Arlington, and other than, Mexico is still a possibility. We haven't heard anything different with Denver in terms of a possibility in the near future. So I do think IndyCar is going in the right direction on what it's trying to achieve. We just get frustrated overall with the
talk.
The talk, and I say lack of action is the right term, because there is action, but it's just the lack of ability to make things happen.
The slow process.
That's what IndyCar is, right? It moves like molasses. And so that
the irony.
Representative of the schedule, but don't overlook Arlington. If that was announced this week as opposed to last October, we'd all be over the moon.
We'd be thrilled, for
Absolutely.
Sure. So overall, and I'll just share this now, I think, is it disappointing because of, kind of the things that were teased? Yes. But overall, it feels like this schedule is a gap year for 2027. At least that's the hope.
Yes.
That's the hope. So let's get to the bad. Let's start. Milwaukee doubleheader. Look, Milwaukee's a great track for IndyCar. They had a doubleheader when they returned, and then they said that's something they wanted to get away from. Well, suddenly it's back to being a doubleheader. And that's simply just because IndyCar is obsessed with 17 races, and they needed a race. When is the series going to be past needing a doubleheader to fill a gap on the schedule? That's a part that is concerning. That it seems like all the eggs went into the Mexico City basket, which seemed to be all but a done deal. That's not my words. That's what Mark Miles and officials were saying. Like they're close to getting everything wrapped up, and that was back in July. And then obviously it fell through, and we got word of that on Saturday. But I just think the doubleheader thing, unless we're, have 18 plus races,
right?
Like, we don't need doubleheaders.
We don't. I think you hit it on the head with that magical 17 number. You never want to have regression with the schedule. To me, I would make it if you buy a ticket to race 1, you get a race 2 ticket for free. If I'm Milwaukee, because you went from 2 races to 1 race to now 2 races. Ideally, you go to 1 race next year. It's just a filler race. Let's call it for what it is. And it's frustrating for Milwaukee because, last year they promote the heck out of 1 race. Now they got to go back to 2 races. Now next year, hopefully they'll go to 1 race. It's just, for the people that are going, bang for your buck. That's great, right? But it's not ideal.
For the promoter, for sponsors, it's hard. I mean, if you're the promoter, obviously, suddenly, you do have 2 races to promote compared to 1, so you'll get a better Saturday crowd, but you have to have a better Saturday crowd now. There's pressure to get, right. And obviously Sunday is going to be the bigger crowd. That's just the reality. And then if you're a sponsor or on the commercial side for a team, you're not getting as much value. And, if you're a sponsor that weekend, unless you're saying, hey, I'll do 1 race, it's a lot harder. And I forget who had that point, whether that was Marshall Pruitt or someone else.
I mean, are you going to have to pay more as a sponsor now for 2 races, even though you don't want to?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a downside. Another one, once again, no race in the Northeast in the U.S. You want to guess the last time they had a race in the Northeast in the U.S.?
New Hampshire?
No. It's not been that long.
Pocono count?
Yeah, Pocono,
okay.
Yeah. Pocono 2019, of course, the controversial crash at the start. But that was the last big oval race outside the 500 as well. And this year, because of NASCAR's, I'll just be honest, stupidity in scheduling, moving Watkins Glen to early May, that region and like it's going to be cold. Like people camp out for this event.
Right.
Like it's a whole thing. Like it doesn't make sense logistically for fans. And IndyCar had a prime opportunity that weekend. That would have been that weekend. You want to know what's going on?
Nothing
Except IMSA's at Road America. That's it. There's no NASCAR. There's no F1. There's no NHRA. There's no IndyCar. Literally, there's nothing but IMSA 6 hours at Road America. I think is it 6 hours? I'm not sure. I guess that's 6 hours at the Glen for IMSA. But either way, kind of a missed opportunity to take over Watkins Glen. And I know that Mark Miles said, "Oh, we're not going to go back to those places," but they literally went back to Phoenix. So it's hard to take that seriously.
An expletive in there when talking about that. Well, and that's the thing is Watkins Glen turned off of IndyCar because of Mark Miles's comments, and even before that, the lack of crowd potentially when IndyCar was there. You look at, could it be a track rental? Well, it's very tough to rent a road course. It's easy to rent an oval, right? You show up and do that. It's not easy to rent a road course. And I think IndyCar's all their eggs were in the Mexico basket, and they didn't have a lot of backup plans. I don't think they were talking to Watkins Glen because they didn't think they needed Watkins Glen. And then once Mexico didn't work, they were kind of left, without anything. So I would like to see IndyCar back at Watkins Glen with some support. It would be nice, but maybe potentially a missed opportunity there. And it kind of leads into, I'm sure on your list too, is without that early August or late July race, you potentially get that massive audience for Nashville, and then you're gone for 3 weeks.
Funny enough, that is one of my next points. I'll actually jump ahead. Nashville, mid-July, so it's what, July 19th?
Yes.
Well, it's going to be mega hot.
It's going to be hot as hell.
And while it was comfortable when I went Labor Day weekend, it's a lot cooler that time of year. Like this will be 90 degrees plus at probably race start. Like how are they going to do this? Are they going to have an extended pre-race show, or are they going to have 5 minutes and then jump to green to keep the TV audience locked in as best they can? Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
That like for fans in the stands and the drivers, like this is brutal.
Well, what time's the World Cup final?
So 3 p.m.
So 3 p.m. I don't even know how long soccer goes. 2.5 hours, 3 hours?
2 hours-ish. Like usually, I mean, it depends if, they go to extra time
or whatever.
And penalties like they did last time.
So let's give them a 3-hour window.
Correct.
For post-race. And you said what? It starts at 4?
Starts at 3 o'clock is the TV. So my understanding is IndyCar, are they going to be on the air at 6-ish? Like that's my understanding. Which remember, that's 5 o'clock.
Right. That's
Central
time. So it's going to be baking.
Yes.
There.
Now, an extended race means by the time you get to the checkered flag, it'll be later. I mean, this would be a 2-hour race instead of an hour 45 minute
but it may
race.
not be dark still. I mean, it's
no, it's
mid-July.
not going to be dark.
So, well, this is purely for TV.
Yes.
Okay, let's just be real.
And the other thing, so the two problems with this is you talked about the being off right after. So you have this race that we expect to be a showcase for IndyCar. And then you tell viewers, "Oh, join us next week." Oh, wait, just kidding. We're off for what?
3 weeks until Portland?
Yeah, till August 9th at Portland. That's problem number one. Problem number two, we talk about this all the time with tracks, date equity. Now you're losing date equity. Now, it was one thing when you went from the street course, which was like early-ish August, to the oval, same market but different tracks. And now you're building date equity Labor Day weekend, which Labor Day weekend falls a little bit later in the calendar as well. So I was hoping maybe they just slot Nashville like the week before and then move Milwaukee up a week. They did not do that. Date equity is so important for tracks that are trying to build, and this obviously is the opposite of that.
It is, and it's always incredibly tough when you have so many obstacles or perceived obstacles for IndyCar. And so for this, I get why they're doing it, but it is obviously for the TV window, the TV at the expense of the crowd.
So on one hand, you're going to put a better on-track product compared to Laguna Seca, but on the other,
the other could be 100 degrees.
Yeah,
people and aluminum grandstands. And,
yes,
yeah, it's tough. It's not a perfect solution, but I get why they wanted an oval race after the World Cup. I do get that, but
and you don't have Mexico City to partner a week later like that with Laguna Seca, like they had originally,
correct,
kind of planned for. So,
but, I don't know if there was a proposal. Hey, could Nashville do 2 races and stay late August, or move to late August even with Laguna Seca as the finale and move up Milwaukee into that spot, and maybe that was shot down. I mean, it's still going to be hot in Milwaukee, but
and that would still be
hot.
a month out from Road America, so that's hard as a promoter
that's
well
true.
to do that.
Yeah, it's just all the solutions have problems, but it's IndyCar's never going to have a perfect schedule, that's for sure. And this is one of those instances that's less than ideal. You just hope you have a break and it's just only in the upper 80s.
Yes,
that weekend, right? That's
yes,
the best you could hope for.
Yes, you do. And then the other thing is Phoenix. So our understanding the race will be Saturday afternoon local, so early evening before Xfinity. Now, I guess the part that I have trouble with, IndyCar drivers could maybe try to jump in and do Xfinity after or even try to do Cup, but how would a NASCAR driver compete in IndyCar? Because of the charter system, like, would it just be a one-off entry and they'd have to qualify? Like, I guess that's a part that I'm confused in terms of, you have the cap of 27 cars. So like how would you even have an opportunity for a NASCAR driver to participate?
Yeah.
I get that Kyle Larson is tested in IndyCar at Phoenix, right, but how would he even have the option? Like, how would that even work?
I don't know if it even work. I mean, it's early in the season for both series. I think the last thing a NASCAR driver wants to do is try to figure out how to race 2 races early in the season.
Yeah.
Jeopardize a potential good result on Sunday, IndyCar on Saturday.
And you're not even making, it's not Indy 500 money either that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I just don't know what the lure... It sounds good as a fan. I just don't see the lure of what is gained by a Cup driver doing the IndyCar race at Phoenix.
Correct. Well, let alone how does that even work with the charter system and in the cap? They would have to qualify and hope they beat the Prema cars. I don't see that
Prema's
working.
There.
Yeah, true. And then finally, the point we've all avoided, Laguna Seca as the finale. Look, you can wine and dine your sponsors and your partners all they want, but it's a terrible finale for fans. It's not accessible to your largest fan base, which is, of course, the Midwest. I know people in California say, well, I can now go to this race as a finale. And people say IndyCar's too Midwest-centric. But look, that's IndyCar's roots. Just like people can say NASCAR is too Southeast-centric and North Carolina-centric. So I just think you're creating a solution for a problem that didn't really exist. And I know that the executives are happy because they can probably have more fun. But in terms of fans, yes, Laguna had a good bounce back in terms of attendance but the event on track, unless we're going to see 2023 revisited, where it was just utter chaos as the finale, it's largely been a snoozer. And yes, CART had Laguna as the finale for many years. I understand. But showcasing your product on an oval, I would rather IndyCar keep Nashville as the finale and build that event with that date on Labor Day weekend than sacrifice it for a TV rating in July where it's not going to draw a good crowd, and you kind of wonder about the future of the event because of that. Yes, TV it'll be great, but in person, how will they promote and make that event big? That's an event and an oval where IndyCar needs to come close to selling out, right? Same with Milwaukee, where there's plenty of room to grow in the Turn 4 and Turn 1 grandstands, let alone on the main, and they're getting there. But now it just feels like all momentum you had with Nashville. Yes, the crowd was slightly down this year compared to last, but the racing is really good. You have something you can sell tickets in terms of the on-track product, and now you're switching the date. Well,
we don't know why, right? I mean, did Laguna Seca agree to a new contract where
and they're the finale
guaranteed.
moving forward for the next couple of years.
Now, here's my thing, and to me, it's optics, and maybe not the optics that many people are thinking. This seems like an old man move. You go from near Nashville, that is very, very much a hot spot for young people, right? Beer
Yes.
and bourbon crowd, right? Now you're going from that to the older
Wine and cheese.
the charcuterie board, wine and cheese crowd in Monterey, California, effectively. So to me, it's like a bunch of old guys got together and say, Nashville is not for us, right? Nashville is one of the destination spots. It's becoming in all of the entire country.
I would say globally it's becoming a destination
and
spot.
you're going away from that as a finale. I know it's not in Nashville, but you're close enough to Nashville. Remember the excitement a couple years ago where you were going to end the season in Nashville and then you were going to have the awards stuff in Nashville, and it was going to be this big party and all that stuff. And now they'd rather go to Monterey, California.
Like, and I understand. Carmel by the Sea, Monterey, Pebble Beach golf course.
It's very much an old guy person thing.
It is.
It's an old dude person. You just want to go and you can relax and you can drink wine and you can golf and you can be on the surf of the coast and blah, 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 as opposed to being where a lot of young people are, making your sport, your series accessible to that young crowd that we are told is so important, right?
And that they made significant inroads on in terms
Correct.
of TV ratings.
You kind of take all that away, or you're just kind of throwing your hands up and say, we give up trying to make this a thing. We're just going to move it into mid-July and blah, blah, blah. And I know Fox probably had a big say in that because of the TV window. But at the same time, you cannot convince me as a middle-aged guy, even I can see what this move is for. It's for the old people. Now, granted, sponsors, majority of them are old men, right? Old white men, okay? They like to golf. They like to drink wine. They like their charcuterie boards. They like to be on the coast of California. They don't want to mess around with the, bars and music clubs and all that stuff and beer and
Not
bourbon
the
Nashville.
honky tonk crowd.
Yes, they're not the honky tonk crowd, right? So I get it, but at the same time, I don't get it.
I never thought we would use the word charcuterie board on the words charcuterie board on this podcast.
I finally
But here we
learned
are.
how to say that properly, so I had to
Yeah.
put it in there.
Yeah. Yes, it feels like,
It feels uppity to me.
yeah.
It feels elitist.
Wait, charcuterie or Laguna Seca?
No, the move.
Yes. It does. And
Yes.
it just feels like it's doing something for executives that's not fan friendly. Just like Nashville and the time slot, unless it's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern, is
Right.
also not fan friendly. And I don't think it's going to be that because, the World Cup, unless the game run or the match runs over, then I don't see how it's going to start that late. Maybe fingers crossed that they go to PKs because I get IndyCar fans will be upset. Oh, the race isn't starting yet because soccer's so. But look,
Yeah.
the longer it goes, the more you're in prime time, and
Right.
the more chance of an even higher TV rating.
Because if you have a half hour to a 45 minute to an hour post match,
Yes,
you're going to lose your audience.
Correct.
Right? You need to go almost immediately
Correct.
into IndyCar. And two, like the show, like if you want to put IndyCar on display for a sponsor, for a prospective sponsor, don't you want to put them on a fast oval as opposed
Yes.
to? That's the thing is like, are you selling the atmosphere or are you selling the racing? Because if you want people to invest in IndyCar, you want to sell the racing, right? I'd much rather go to Nashville to see what I'm potentially investing my millions of dollars in than going to Laguna Seca. But then again, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a business owner. And maybe that's up a lot of people's alley, I guess. I don't know.
I
wanna
think
be wined
Nashville
and
has a
dined
lot
and-
of opportunities for the same thing. I get that the track, as you mentioned, is far away. They literally have shuttle buses that you can take over, and I'm sure that's how that was handled with those people. So it's disappointing. Overall, the schedule, it leaves you wanting more, which IndyCar always does that with a
always
lot
do.
of things. But you look at it and it's like, okay, on the hype that we had, no Mexico City, Washington, D.C., which we thought was never really feasible, but if there was a way to pull it off, it was for next year because of the 250th celebration for the U.S. That's not happening, obviously. And let's talk Mexico City. I guess the World Cup reasoning, while on paper makes sense, in my mind, it really doesn't. And here's why.
Because you knew about the World Cup?
Correct.
And so why?
You knew about the World Cup in advance, and they're saying, well, the sponsors are committed to the World Cup in Mexico because they're hosting matches at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, which is a massive stadium.
Yeah.
I understand that, and NASCAR didn't come back next year, and part of it, I think, was really because of the World Cup. And then you have the Liberty Media stuff, which Mark Miles said, I've read that theory. That doesn't play a role. I think the real problem is they didn't pull this race off for 2025 because they could have figured out these things for 2026, even with the World Cup. But because they didn't get this race in Mexico City on the schedule for 2025, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Right.
And now you can say, oh, the World Cup is the factor. And yes, in terms of sponsorship and whatnot, yes, I understand. But the real missed opportunity was not having it for 2025. So now we punt it to 2027. You can't use the World Cup as an excuse anymore. And will this happen? Yeah, they're literally, Mark Miles is going to go down, I think, next week and talk, and Nathan Brown of the IndyStar.com has a good story talking about, do they keep the on-site promoter, Ricardo Escado, who owns that billboard company, was, looking to be the promoter, and then there's someone else that they talked with, or do they just work directly with the track and IndyCar as a promoter?
Yes.
Which I think is probably what they need to do.
Yeah.
Cut out the middleman. I mean, that reading between the lines, what Nathan Brown wrote, that really sounds like that's what IndyCar needs to do here, that the promoter is just as much to blame, the potential promoter, for this not happening. But the missed opportunity was for 2025, not 2026. They missed it for 2025, and so now we have to push it to 27.
Yeah, the World Cup isn't anything new on the schedule. They knew that the World Cup was going to happen. So I don't know if we'll ever get the real complete story of why Mexico City hasn't happened or Mexico hasn't happened. But you just keep punting it, and now we go another year without your most popular driver having a race in his home country. It went from, well, NASCAR beat you to Mexico to now NASCAR has already been and done with Mexico, and you still can't get to Mexico. So I don't know, maybe the business, the final business numbers for NASCAR scared IndyCar a little bit. I don't know. Did NASCAR lose their ass in Mexico? And IndyCar was like, whoa, I don't know if we can afford to lose that much money to put this event on. So that would be an interesting side note to maybe find out or know, is if NASCAR did it and IndyCar saw how it went down and was like, I don't know if that's for us. I don't know. But it is disappointing. It's another year without a Mexico race.
Yes, it feels like a missed opportunity, and kind of wrapping up our thoughts on the schedule, and then we'll move forward to a very busy mailbag with people's thoughts on the schedule as well. Do you have any kind of final thoughts? To me, it leaves me waiting. Yes, they avoid a lot of conflicts. I don't know if I mentioned March Madness, but they avoid March Madness opening weekend as well, in terms of conflicts for races. They did everything they could from a TV standpoint to maximize it. I think Laguna Seca is just kind of, I don't know. By that point, though, is it already people have moved on and they're locked in with football season, even though it's only Labor Day weekend here in the U.S. They maximized what they could with the TV schedule. They chose Nashville over Laguna, but outside of that, in terms of TV ratings wise, I feel like they did what they could. But beyond that, there's just still some things to be desired. I feel like I'm waiting for 27. It's always next year. We're waiting for Mexico
City. We said last year, well, we'll wait for 26. Right?
Wait for 26 with Arlington and Mexico City, and maybe something else.
I think because the anticipation was we had Arlington so early. Mm-hmm. We said, "Oh man, this gives them plenty of time to find another destination race.
Yeah. And then add in that they're looking at another oval, which we did get with Phoenix.
Correct.
But yeah, now it's Mexico City and Denver for 27. Will those happen?
Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see. All right.
I mean, here, two of my points here as we close before we get to the mailbag is, one, the schedule continues to feel like whack-a-mole, right? Mm-hmm. You solve a problem, but another one pops up.
Yes.
And IndyCar just can't whack all the moles down at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They're just reaching and knocking one, and then something else happens.
You solve the problem of competing against a lot of major events in the spring and also a slow start to the season. So you check off those two boxes, but then you flip your finale and you don't get Mexico City, even though it seemed to be all but a done deal. That's their words.
Right.
Not us.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the one point. The second point is you're already starting to see, and I don't necessarily know if this is a negative because it's a net positive that they're involved, but Fox is going to want to dictate the schedule as much as it can for the benefit of the TV rating, as opposed to the race fan that's actually going to the events. Prime example being Nashville, right? It's not a major issue, and I understand that TV ratings are still most important, but without healthy events on the schedule, with people going, you don't have events to broadcast, right? So I'm just wondering, how involved is Fox going to continue to get to make sure that, yes, they're getting good time slots for races, but at the detriment of the race fan that's going to the races? It's only really one big instance this year or this coming year with Nashville, but I wonder if it's going to continue to be a trend that, hey, this race, which has long been this part of the schedule, is going to be moved because in Fox's mind, it can get a better number in that slot. And that's fine if you can still draw for the race. But that's something to keep in mind in the years going forward, is how much is Fox going, no, we don't care that Mid-Ohio has been July 4th, for example. We're going to move it to this because it is the best time for it to be for us in terms of ratings.
And that's the delicate balance that IndyCar and Fox, now that they're business partners, need to figure out.
Correct.
It's a concern. Also, one other note on Mexico City, people pointed this out on social media. A reminder, Mexico City was, in Mark Miles' words, still looking good to host an IndyCar race in 2016. And that story came out basically 10 years ago.
In 2016. Yeah, I was about to correct you. You mean 2026? No, 2016.
It was looking good for 2016. That story came out in 2015, basically 10 years ago at this exact time. So that's how long they've been trying to get. It's not just a Penske thing. That was a Holman and Company thing at the time. They've been trying to figure this out.
Well, I'm sure if you asked him, Mark Miles would say 2027 in Mexico is still looking good.
I'm sure it is.
Rinse and repeat.
All right, if you agree or disagree with us on our thoughts on the 2026 IndyCar schedule, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can always find us on social media. IndyCar Podcast, the handle on Twitter/X, also on Instagram. On Facebook, just search for New Track Record and send us your thoughts. You can email us, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions, comments, rants, concerns our way. You can support us via Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. And then, as always, download and listen on your favorite podcasting platform, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find podcasts. All right, busy mailbag, and we'll go back. First off, Lynn _IndyCar. So we didn't find a driver. If anyone could find a driver who raced in IndyCar and F1 the same year, but did find one that was interesting. We talked about Montoya. He didn't do it, but he did do it in NASCAR. In 2006, he drove F1 for McLaren and NASCAR for Chip Ganassi Racing. So there's a crossover that you probably didn't expect.
Nope.
Elsewhere in the mailbag, we'll just get to thoughts on the 2026 schedule. And there are quite a bit, so let me kind of find where everything starts.
Everybody had an opinion. They were good opinions.
First off, these are thoughts on the schedule. They're kind of two separate posts. So this is the first post. Lynn said, non-business educated IndyCar fans are going thumbs down on the schedule. I think it's the best schedule available. Move to Nashville is brilliant as a lead-in to the World Cup final. Well, it's a lead-out, not lead-in. Possibility of showcasing IndyCar in front of new fans is brilliant, making it a huge event. NK Harden said, so all the things we didn't want to happen are now all happening. Being an IndyCar fan is hard, man. Glad I'm not a Browns fan and IndyCar fan. That would be unbearable. And tagged our buddy Neil, who is a Browns fan. Pretty low blow there. Or a Bears fan is pretty unbearable.
Or a Bears fan.
Like you.
Yes.
Poet Shevchenko said, IndyCar just repeatedly does this with its fans, and it's a YouTube video of we get some kids riled up for pizza and then leave. And it's a clickhole video, if you know clickhole. Good stuff. Ferdinand Martz, 3 thumbs down. And Kristen Keller said no Northeast, which, yeah, we railed on that as well. It just, again, Northeast fans, there are fans there. Tap into the market. And then the long thread, initial thoughts on the 26 schedule. Crash Gladys said, I love most of this, especially in the Nashville spot with the World Cup lead-in. What I don't like is 3 weeks off after potentially grabbing a large amount of new eyeballs. There must be an addition to the schedule the week after Nashville. Must. Yeah, we discussed. That's kind of where I got the idea, so thank you for sending that. Push to Pass Cast said, not a huge fan of the 26 schedule, to be honest. IndyCar Chick said, other than April only having one race as a finale not on an oval, I don't hate it. Seems pretty par for the course. Mom 2X over 2002 said, wait, I thought they said we weren't racing in Mexico because of the World Cup. And then the follow-up is funny. I saw Monterey and my brain wasn't thinking Cali. Someday my kids will let me sleep more than 3 to 4 hours a night. If only, which Monterey in the racer mailbag this week, Marshall Pruitt said, if that was an option, it'd already be discussed.
Yeah, correct.
PF56T2 said, what if they place Mexico on February 8th at 1:30 Eastern? Super Bowl won't affect attendance in Mexico. It seems folks are already conditioned to settle in and watch sports for the day. IndyCar would compete with NBA and NHL that afternoon. Might be worth a try. But as you pointed out, this is the largest international market for the NFL. It's probably just not the time. Also, weather-wise in Mexico City, I don't think it would work.
Yeah.
I get that people think Mexico is hot all the time, but you have to remember Mexico City is over a mile above sea level. So it's not like you're, across the border from Texas or in Cancun or,
right.
The Yucatan Peninsula. It's a little different. NK Harden, positives, love Phoenix and Arlington. New events in major markets, check. Negatives, hate Laguna Seca as a finale. Nashville in July, the sweating emoji. Doubleheaders suck. Mark them for Toronto, I get for 26. No beyond that, we agree. No DC, another what could have been for IndyCar. Poet Shevchenko, positives, extremely strong start to the year, including oval race before the 500. Neutral, Nashville moved to July would be negative if the race isn't at night. Negatives, Laguna Seca's finale and IndyCar saying, screw you, none of the above for all they were hyping.
Well, let's just be thankful. The IndyCar of old would just announce DC and be like, we'll figure it out between now and next year, and then it wouldn't get figured out.
Shades of Boston or the Qingdao China street race. Never forget.
So,
or Champ Car days, the Korea race.
Correct. So, I guess IndyCar has grown up a little bit in terms of not announcing such things before they're all the way done.
Yes. SCTJ9 said, I like it other than only one race in April. Melvin Mack 0818 said, disappointing Nashville got moved off the last race. Final race needs to be on an oval. Optimistic that getting the World Cup lead-in will bring a good rating to Nashville, bring new fans in. Excited for the Milwaukee doubleheader. For someone out of town, seeing 2 races adds value to the trip. So a different perspective on that. PF56T2 said, same old, move Toronto to the week before Mid-Ohio. Get Montreal the August weekend proposed for Toronto. Track is run by Bell, who owns TSN, which is IndyCar's Canadian TV partner. Need a race in February. Mexico, ? Looking for Denver, something East Coast, TikTok. Patrick_Stankus said, disappointed, underwhelming snore. Hunter J. Smith, 03, just said, annoyed. OBX Jody, no Mexico race, no DC race, no Richmond race. Almost 20% of the races are in the state of Wisconsin. No offense, Wisconsin, but one race is enough. The schedule is a burning bag of poo on every IndyCar fan's front porch.
Wowzers. See, like so many different
different views.
For
a schedule that really didn't have a whole lot of changes or a whole lot of surprises.
It's not that much different. You add Arlington, and that's the thing. I think all these people were responding. If Arlington would have been announced 3 days ago, would all these people be as upset? No, they would not be. So we have to remember, yes, Arlington was announced a long time ago, and yes, there's been a lot of rumors between then and now about other races. We still can't discount the fact that IndyCar is now in one of the top 5 markets in the entire country.
I think, look, am I still disappointed in the schedule? Yes. Is it still a disappointment compared to what is teased to us? Yes.
Is it a flaming pile of poo? No.
No. Jeremy from HBG said, not too bad. It looks like there's been some learning done. Kin_Killam said, I hope that Will gets a good ride to follow up next year. He really likes Portland. Nifty Car 52. Well, let me put it this way. It's on brand for Mark Miles' level of effort.
Man.
CT317 jumps. I hate the fact they moved Nashville to the middle of July. Probably at noon when it's 400 degrees. Well, thankfully not. Here's the other thing with Mark Miles. Fans immediately blame Mark Miles for everything, and he is the target, right? I understand that. But who's he getting his orders from? Roger Penske. I guess I never understand the Mark Miles is everything that's wrong with IndyCar.
Right.
Look, Mark Miles was with IndyCar before Penske Entertainment took over. And Roger Penske himself saw it fit to keep him on board. So in my mind, that's more on Roger Penske than it is on Mark Miles if people have, a disagreement with something.
Right. And here's an example.
Miles is the mouthpiece.
Correct. And not a good mouthpiece at times. But here, for instance, could this be a conversation? Mexico's trying to make Mexico happen. Mark Miles goes to Roger Penske and say, hey, we can do Mexico, but we need $15 million. And Roger Penske's like, no. We're not doing that. Is that Mark Miles' fault?
No.
So let's just remember that. It's easy to blame the public figure and maybe not as much the person behind that's very much in control. And maybe there's just nobody to blame in some instances. But I do think that if Roger Penske decided to invest more in the schedule, then more of these races would happen.
Yes, I agree. And look, Mexico, the public blame is the World Cup timing, and I understand that because, look, you can't blame the promoter because then they're not, or the track, because then they're not going to want to work with you if you publicly blame them.
Yeah,
so you're in a tough spot. We all know that it's more complicated than just the World Cup. I know they won't admit that, but I think it is.
And we often forget other countries, just there's so much other stuff going on.
Yes.
Particular in countries that you have to appease a lot of different people. Government works different, especially a change in government, a change in not just national government, regional government, local government, right? There's just a lot of things. It's not just, hey, it's much easier to make races happen in the United States than places like Mexico.
Correct. One Bodacher said, lame, this long of a wait just for no DC or Mexico City. Replace Iowa for yet another doubleheader and Laguna Seca as finale instead of Nashville. So again, kind of the same thoughts that a lot of you had.
I do think the tardiness of the schedule was because IndyCar was trying to make Mexico work.
Yes.
I'm not going to blame them. Like, what's the difference for everybody if this schedule came out 3 months ago as opposed to now? What would we hear? Oh, why did it come out so early? They could have used this time to try to get Mexico or another race, right? The blame would be like, why are they announcing this in July that obviously weren't trying to add races? So either way, people are going to be upset. I have no problem with this schedule coming out in mid-September. Like, what's the rush? Who cares when it comes out as long as we get it?
And then this thought also from PF56T2, IndyCar has for years concentrated in the Midwest and milked the core fan base and wonder why they don't grow. I mean, what other choice do they have with that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, we're our frustrations have been evident with IndyCar on this podcast for years, but I don't know if we can find a lot to blame with this schedule. I mean, some things fell short for sure. I think maybe the biggest problem is running with rumors.
Yes.
And that's not just fans, that's media, right? Rumors, I think when we hear about new potential races as rumors, when they don't happen, we lay blame. And that's not fair, right? It's not like they confirmed a race and then it went away. We've seen that.
Yeah, we have.
So rumors are just rumors until they happen. Just because
Look at you with sane takes.
I know. I don't know what's going on.
What is happening?
Just because we hear a rumor about a potential race at Richmond, if it doesn't happen, that shouldn't be, that's a failure of IndyCar, because it could be a bogus rumor, right? So, I get the frustrations with some people. I really do. But at the same time, I kind of push back and be like, this isn't that different of a schedule.
Other replies on the schedule. This from 500 Indy 1911 pros. Packed March to start, 2 oval night races, night in quotes. World Cup final lead into Nashville. Milwaukee double, make it a festival. Phoenix back, Arlington could be next level, all on Big Fox. Cons, Laguna finale, the vomiting emoji. 1 race in Big Gap between Barber and Indy GP. New Mexico City, no DC, no Northeast or East Coast, no downtown Toronto. Mark Miles still has a job.
More Mark Miles blame.
Yeah, it's easy. He's an easy target. I think that's the other factor in all of this. So, that's just kind of the unfortunate reality of being in that job. Obviously, that's just kind of how it works. Then also, final mailbag comments. Let's see. I think there was like 1 or 2 more here to get to. Commence all the rumors for multiple big additions to 2027 IndyCar schedule. Only be disappointed when it releases. You posted this. And a lot of great replies. OBX Jody said, honestly, this is a current series going through the motions. California season finale is a going away present to Mark Miles. I'm predicting that the series will have new ownership before 2027. 26 is about risk aversion for Penske and Fox being more focused on World Cup. If true, that's wild.
Well, why wouldn't Fox be more focused on the World Cup?
Right?
Would be my question.
Yeah. That costs them a lot more money to broadcast, so they got to make the money back, and it has a global TV audience.
It is the biggest sport in the world. Why wouldn't it prioritize the World Cup over IndyCar?
Davis,
I think some people have just a wild expectation of what this series is and what it deserves and what it doesn't.
You're not wrong, but that's why we're called fans, right?
Short for fanatics.
Correct. Davis Will _85 at Denver, Mexico, Watkins Glen, and Washington, D.C. Look, I'd be happy if they got 2 of those at it. Hunter's Way 67 called it 15 venues with a doubleheader, no DC race week. TGL _studios, Texas, Chicagoland, Homestand, Kentucky, ... Oh, wait, never mind. And Marbles offline, we need to stop relying on rumors, then be disappointed when they don't prove true. Your exact point.
Very much so. I would have liked to see a track rental of Iowa instead of a second race at Milwaukee.
I agree.
Again, could that be a Mark Miles going to Roger Penske and say, hey, to go back to Iowa as a track rental be this much money? And Roger Penske say no. So you end up with 2 races at Milwaukee. Just one of those things that we're never going to know for sure, but let's not hate on Mark Miles for everything.
Agreed. Formula _AO1 just said poor as far as initial reaction. Truthless _hero World Cup lead-in for that's a different post. It's from late for Apex. Also, Laguna as a finale sucked previously and will again. It did not suck in 2023, to be clear.
There was less sucking.
That was a wild race. But it also said 1 race in April, ?
Laguna Seca still doesn't excite me as a finale.
No.
And we talked about that at length. We've also talked about April. I get it. Your best shot would be the 13th. Well, no. So the first week of April is Easter, right?
I think it's the 2nd.
Is it? I
I'm
thought
not
it was
sure.
the 1st. Let's open the old calendar up here because it's when our return from spring break, and I'm like, oh, it's Easter Sunday. So
April 5th. You're right. That is the first weekend.
So then the Masters is what? The week after?
I think so.
And then you have a race, and then you have the
What
Open
would have
test.
what would have been Barber is now going to be the Open test that week.
Now, ideally, you would have a Saturday night oval race the Sunday before the Masters. I think that would be the best play. But you need an oval that wants to have a night race. So I don't understand. I get it, the frustration, but when you break it down, it's not surprising.
Couple more, then we'll move on. This from G Mathern 84. Thoughts on the schedule? Needs another 1 to 2 dates in April, another date in both June and another in July, all on ovals. But overall, I like it. Look, it's World Cup. This schedule is not going to be the same in 27. Said would love to see them back at Richmond, plus maybe stops in New Hampshire. One of the 1.5-mile ovals like Kansas or Vegas. IndyCar on ovals is fire. And then Rotodoc said Nashville getting a lead in from the World Cup final is huge. Huge.
Massive.
And then finally, let's see, last one, I believe, if I can find it.
I think the argument, too, is every race on Fox. So if you were offered, Caleb, 2 more races, but they were on FS1 during World Cup, would you take it?
No.
So that's the alternative, right? Because the texter mentioned June and July. Like, there's soccer going on. A lot of soccer. Because correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first year of the expanded
Yes.
Expanded
field, yes.
for the World Cup. So there's a lot more games, a lot more matches on the pitch, as they say. So
Nicely done.
thank you. So that's the thing, is your contract is every race on Fox. And Fox now, as a minority partner in ownership, could be like, we don't want to put any of the races on FS1 because we want maximum
which is
return on
props to
investment.
Fox. I mean, they could have easily kept the schedule as it is and said, we'll put the races, centered around the World Cup. We'll just put them on FS1.
Right.
And they could have figured it out, and it wouldn't have been a problem. But Fox said, no, we want these all on Big Fox. That's our contract. That's what we want to do. And IndyCar is very lucky to have that.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I guess you could have another race on, let's say, July 12th or July 26th, but it could be buried on FS1 in the afternoon on a Sunday with World Cup going on and get 350,000 viewers.
Correct.
So, okay, you can have
doesn't
more
help
races.
anyone.
Yeah, it doesn't help anybody. So, sometimes the alternative is worse.
And then final thought, Mom 2X over 2002, the 500 pre-show week better be good since it's the 250th birthday of America. They dropped the ball big time with no race in D.C. or in the area. Even NASCAR is doing a race at Coronado, at least for the 250 celebration. IndyCar is just not willing to invest the money that NASCAR was for a one-off like that, which is fine.
I find it harder with every day, harder and harder to believe that a race around the National Mall would work. One, it's the epicenter of government in the world. Two, you have tourism, hopefully not terrorism, tourism, incredible amount of tourism, right? And for a road course build, you're looking at minimum 3 weeks, set up, tear down, minimum. You're really going to disrupt DC traffic. And because the mall is nice, right? But you're also around the White House and the Capitol. I mean, it's not
the
like
security is
it's
insane.
just stupid. I mean, just when you think about it, the absurdity of even this being, and that's kind of like I look at Fox, I'm like, did you really think you could pull that off? Did you really think so?
I mean, they thought because between Fox and Trump and Penske,
and the anniversary,
pulled it off.
Yeah, I get it, because there's going to be a UFC event on the lawn of the White House.
That's a lot easier.
That's different than a road course around the epicenter of government in the entire world, right? Washington, D.C. I mean, in visiting D.C. a couple years ago when I did an honor flight, I mean, there are convoys of diplomats
all the time,
all over the place.
Yeah.
where it's just, police car, limo, police car, motorcycles. Like, they're everywhere. And you cannot disrupt any of that for a couple days, let alone weeks. Not to mention the tourism.
Isn't that a honor flight bus ride, though, where you get...
Oh, yes.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, it's amazing.
where
you get the
you're
escort.
part of the escort of the
now,
envoy.
it's not for us. It's for the veterans,
yes.
for sure. But you feel important.
You do. It's quite nice.
Even as a non-veteran.
Yes, same.
But
having been on an honor flight, it was a cool experience.
It's amazing. But those escorts are, you see dark envoys going all over the place with cop cars. I mean, when you think about it, it's impossible. It is impossible to do that. And then to get the city of DC on board to where you're like, okay, so this is going to disrupt tourism for how many weeks? And restaurants and hotels and all that stuff are going to be impacted. The impact of an IndyCar race and the fans it could get is not going to touch the amount of people that go to DC to see the sights. So
NASCAR only pulled off Chicago because they pretty much did stuff overnight in terms of track builds.
And the thing with Coronado is it's all self-contained.
Yes.
We still don't know. I still expect that to be a thermal-like race where there are a minimal amount of people let in there.
Like only people who live on the base.
Yeah, or
and their friends and family.
Like, you can't allow 30,000 civilians on a military base. Like, there's no way. So for people to point to, look what NASCAR did with Coronado, that's so much easier than being able to do that in DC. It's not even comparable.
All right, let's move on to news and notes and kind of quickly wrap things up. First off, Racer Mailbag had some interesting nuggets this week. As you sent your recap this morning to me. First off, multi-year plan for funding for Prima, but a change of mind happened. Juncos merger discussed, not much to benefit Juncos, so they need outside investment. Who knows if they will be on the grid in 2026?
Still I think right now Prima is expecting to be on the grid, but when you have a owner who just decides that after tens of millions of dollars investment, after just a couple races, that maybe it's not for them. I mean, anything's possible.
Elsewhere, the series in Firestone continue to develop an oval alternate tire concept. Rinus VeeKay news coming soon. Not driving for Foyt or Penske. David Malukas announcement could come as soon as tomorrow, Thursdays. We record on Wednesday, September 17th. And that's really about it for the mailbag. Elsewhere, Doug Bowles expecting another grandstand sellout for the Indy 500 in 2026. Said that last night during the victory lap celebration, kind of the end of season awards banquet that IndyCar did at IMS. Other things in terms of notes, Scott McLaughlin finished third in the Suzuka 1,000 kilometer. Obviously pretty cool. And also posted going to be a big old 2026. Can't wait to try a couple new places. Even maybe try fit some extra racing in between. Watch this space. So he already did that. So I thought that was interesting that he kind of teased something. Nathan Brown had this nugget, which I thought was interesting. He said that Penske Entertainment did not release anything formal schedule-wise till 15 minutes before the schedule release to prevent leaks, which obviously Brown still had the schedule before it was released. He posted it, as did, I think, Jenna Fryer, among others. So teams couldn't really put together a cool video or graphic right away. McLaren had a good one ready to go. They kind of did a Monopoly board, which was pretty cool. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Also, F1 and the FIA published start times for the races next year. No direct conflict with the Canadian GP. 1,600 hours local time. So 4 o'clock, Indy 500 green flags, usually 12:30, 12:45, somewhere in there. So we're going to go Indy 500, Canadian GP, Coke 600, pretty much all in succession, which is cool.
It's just kind of flip-flopped. Right, we used to start our day with Monaco. Now
there's no gap whatsoever. You have in lights, which we're still awaiting a schedule for lights, and then also TV times for everything as well. But Max Garcia, who was the USF Pro 2000 champion, just 16 years old, He'll race for Able Motorsports, joining with Miles Rowe. And Jaron Dimmendahl said he'll compete with Miles Rowe to determine who will drive for Foyt in 2027. That's his theory. So I thought that was interesting. Marshall Pruitt saying that Will Power will have a new race engineer as they shuffle things. Let's not forget that Gavin Ward is still available, and I think his non-compete ends soon, something to keep in mind.
And Tim Cindric.
Yeah, also Tim Cindric. Lando Norris had said IndyCar is one of the toughest series in the world. I think it's an incredibly tough car to drive. And they said, I've driven it myself, which I don't think he actually has.
I mean, in a sim, I guess.
Yeah, in a sim he has. You can tell all those things. The level of all these drivers is incredibly high. So I don't know how many points they get in IndyCar, but I would put it above the level of Formula 2. So talking about the super license nonsense. Alex Palou, speaking of super license points, he's qualified. He was at the Colts game on Sunday.
Undefeated Colts.
Yeah, 2-0. So
the excitement is palpable here around the Hoosier State.
Yeah. And with that, I think that's about it. Anything that we missed?
Just appreciate everybody's feedback on the schedule. Look,
yes.
Everybody's opinion is rightfully theirs, their opinion. You can be thrilled, you can be disgusted, and everything in between. So we appreciate everybody's feedback. It was a lot of fun going through everybody's messages and all that. So it finally released, finally came out. Everybody had an opinion, and now we just have to wait 6 short months to get the season started.
Yeah, we are a show by fans for fans, so that's what we love about it is we share our opinions. You can agree with us, you can disagree, but it's for you. So it's great to kind of discuss the schedule and everything in between. All right, tweets of the week time, and we have one that I thought was great, and it was Scott McLaughlin replying to a fan because he had posted. Someone asked him his top 5 tracks. He said that I've driven. Top 5, no order: Suzuka, Bathurst, Laguna Seca, Indy Oval in all caps, and Adelaide Streets. And someone said the cap oval seems to imply you don't like the Indy road course, and he said correct. I thought that was great.
I feel like that's an opinion held by many.
I do as well. All right, random split error driver of the week time.
All right, we continue to dig the dregs, the bottom. We're like that bulldozer that's scraping the bottom of the hole as it digs it out. But we're going with Riccardo Sparafico. Now, some people were like, well, wait a minute. You've talked about Mr. Sparafico before. No, we spoke about his cousin Alex Sparafico. Riccardo Sparafico, hey, he was born in Toledo. You've been to Toledo, right?
Actually, I've not been to Toledo.
You've not been to Toledo?
I've never been to Toledo.
Well, he wasn't.
I've been close, but I've never been.
It's like an hour away from here. You've never been.
It's like an hour and a half.
Okay, but it's close.
No, I've not been.
It's about it on a good day. You can get to Toledo quicker than you can Indy.
That is true.
But no reason for Caleb to go to Toledo. But by the way, he was born in Toledo, Brazil.
I figured there was a catch.
Not the Toledo, Ohio. But he began his career in Europe in Formula Ford, did Formula 3000. He did International Formula 3000 in 2001, 2002, 2003. Made his way into Champ Car in 2005. He competed for the Rookie of the Year title, driving for Dale Coyne Racing. He had a difficult time coming to grips with the series, with no less than 5 different teammates over the course of the year, all of whom, at one point or another, have been random split era drivers of the week. His best finish was 8th in Denver. Hey, remember when Champ Car was in Denver? That'd be cool if we went back.
Yeah.
He also contested occasional events in 2004, his cousin Alex, also contested occasional Champ Car events from 2003 to 2005. He did the entire season with Coyne in 2005. That 8th place at Denver was his best finish. Also had a 9th at Surfers, a 9th at Cleveland, a 10th at Edmonton, a veritable who's who of former racetracks that we would love to go back to.
Ah, man, Edmonton was so cool.
Right? Now, I also saw something. So the Cleveland Burke Airport, right, was where that race course was.
For Cleveland?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw a picture randomly on Facebook a couple days ago where there was ballistic missile interceptor missiles at Burke Lakefront Airport. This is military nerd coming out of me. I would say in the 50s, in the heyday of the Red Scare, right, and getting into the Cold War, the ballistic missiles threat was big. So the United States had at key points around the country ballistic missile interceptors, which were missiles, and they had batteries at like 10 or 15 different places in the United States. One of the batteries was at Burke Lakefront Airport. So, like, I don't know, you're landing your plane, see these giant missiles next to you, just in case the Russians decide to attack. Anyway, ninth at Cleveland that year. After that rookie season, he was done. He returned to Brazil, competed in stock car Brazil from 2007 to 2013, and drove part-time in 2018 as well. And that was it. So Mr. Ricardo Sparafico, he is still in his mid-40s, reasonably young dude, so got started pretty early. One and done with Gale Coin Racing in Champ Car in 2005. Born in Toledo, not Ohio, but Toledo, Paraná, Brazil. This week's random split era driver of the week.
Toledo, it's in southern Brazil. I was curious where it was at.
You've never been to either?
No, I've not. Small city, population as of 2021, nearly 143,000 people. So there you go.
One of these days, I'll just show up at your house and kidnap you and drive you to Toledo.
Ohio?
Ohio. Just enter the city limits and just turn around and just say, hey, I took you to Toledo.
All right. Well, that wraps up our schedule talk. Sounds like next week we'll have some driver confirmations to discuss. David Malukas likely going to be confirmed at Penske. And where will Rinus VeeKay end up? My guess is Rahal. What's your guess?
Yeah, I think Rahal's the easiest destination after effectively spurning Foyt, or I guess Foyt never was open.
Yeah,
so
Penske, obviously not an option, even though there were rumors of that. And then Foyt, which we thought, but now it sounds like Caio Collet possibly could be an option there at Foyt.
Rinus VeeKay in the 30 is what we presume?
I would assume.
And that would leave us with no full-time Canadians, once again.
That is true.
In the series.
We shall see. We'll probably find out the answers for next week's edition of New Track Record Podcast.